Today I'm going to be breaking down how you can 3-star a Townhall 17 using a Royal Champion Charge and Hydra at Townhall 16. So here is the army composition that we are going to be using, and of course there is a couple of things you guys are going to need to make sure you are bringing. The first and probably most important is going to be that Royal Champion and those Electro Boots. Of course, the higher level you have them, the better. Those 11 invisibility spells are going to be used on her, so very important you of course try to max them out as well. When it comes to the rest of our heroes, pretty basic equipment on them. The Giant Arrow is another key feature over there on the Queen. For our army itself, very simple when it comes to the dragons and the dragon riders. A few support troops coming in to help them, so let's jump in and break it down. So the first thing we're going to be looking for in this particular style of attack is where we can get the value from the Royal Champion. Now, if you haven't done a Royal Champion charge before, it's not actually as complicated as it looks. The invisibility spells themselves last about 4 seconds, so you can typically get into the swing of the timings for them. Now in this particular one, we do actually have the Spirit Fox set on our Royal Champion. For me personally, I typically actually tend to switch out the Spirit Fox to the Phoenix. I tend to find that the Phoenix gives you that little bit longer through the rest of the base, and sometimes, especially when you're hitting up like we are today, it's very difficult to get the timings right with the Spirit Fox and the invisibility spells, but it's each to their own. This is what we're going to be using today. So of course we have an incredibly heavy left hand side of the base here. You can see we have multiple really strong defenses, so that's the section of the base that we're going to be targeting. We have those 11 invisibility spells, and all you're going to do is continuously use them. We want to try and avoid taking too much damage too early on. Don't be scared to use them before the defenses lock onto your troops. You can see right here our Royal Champion is already nearly dead, and we've only really just got started with our Royal Champion charge. So it's important, I know they last around about 4 seconds, but sometimes if you want to deploy them about 3.5 seconds each, just to give you that little bit of a safety net, that can be better. But of course, you're just basically going to continuously drop those invisibility spells over your Royal Champion as well as your pet of choice, whether that's your Spirit Fox or anything else, just to try and keep them alive. Be very careful when it comes to things like the Monolith or enemy heroes. Things that can do high DPS very quickly can always cause you a lot of grief. Now, unfortunately here, you guys will see our Royal Champion does end up going down in the middle just as she gets to that Town Hall. So for me, that is where the Phoenix potentially could have came in very helpful, but if we pause things up like we have, you guys can see we've completely wiped out all of that kind of left into the core section of the base. We've also taken out the Clan Castle and lured out a few of the troops. So to be honest, with the rest of the base, there's not too many key defenses left up, and it shouldn't be too much of a problem to hopefully get through the rest. The next thing we're going to be doing is bringing in our Archer Queen. So of course she's going to be coming in, and we're trying to shoot that Giant Arrow through 2 of the air defenses if at all possible. Unfortunately on this particular one, we only end up catching 1 of the air defenses, but your goal with the Archer Queen's Giant Arrow is always to try and get 2. She is going to be coming in with her ability from that right hand side of the base. We have the healers in there as well, of course, from her ability. You're then also going to be bringing your siege barracks on the same side. So you've basically got a bit of a mini charge coming in from one corner of the base. That's got the P.E.K.K.A.s, the queens, the healers from her ability, and the wizard. That's going to actually be able to get quite a lot of value and really help to set that funnel. If you look at the rest of this attack, we have those dragons and those balloons pushing in through from the bottom, and they're going to be forced through towards that Town Hall because we've cleared the left hand side with the Royal Champion charge. We're now clearing the right hand side with the Queen and the P.E.K.K.A.s from the siege barracks, so those dragons don't really have any choice but to make their progress into the core. So we're going to go ahead, pop off that ability right there, and you guys can see we have the double tome on the Grand Warden. We have the healing tome along with the Eternal Tome. Now, the Minion Prince's ability is actually very important. When you pop it off, you want to try and catch as many of those really strong defenses as you can. In this particular case, you'll see we caught quite a few of those on the back end, the Fire Spitter, the multi-target Inferno, etc., as well as the enemy Queen. Monolith is another one. If you can catch it or even take it down early on, that's going to be absolutely beneficial. Typically with that Royal Champion charge, you're looking to try and either get a huge amount of very valuable defenses, or the Town Hall, or the Monolith. Those are kind of the key things we're looking for when it comes to this style of attack. But you'll see, like I was talking about earlier, the Queen actually combines so well with the Siege Barracks and P.E.K.K.A, especially going around the edge of the base. There's not too many high damage defenses around that section. Typically those healers shouldn't get sniped off too easily, and in this particular one you'll see they actually end up doing a lot of the heavy lifting around the outside of the base for us. The Queen, of course, still on full HP, going very, very strong. So when you're hitting up against the Town Hall 17, it's not always going to be easy. Let's be honest, you're hitting higher level heroes, higher level defenses. Overall, it's just going to be a little bit more troublesome. However, it is absolutely more than possible to 3-star them. All you have to do, try and get the value from your Royal Champion. If you achieve a good amount of value, you should be able to bring in those 3 stars. So we have a couple more examples. Let's jump in and take a look. So moving through into that next example, again, identifying where we can get the value from with our Royal Champion. She is now going to be coming in toward that Town Hall. That's what we're looking to get from her, is that Town Hall and as many of those other defenses in that area as possible. Now it's the same situation again. Already we're seeing the Royal Champion take quite a lot of damage, but we're opting to pop her ability nice and early on in this particular one to get through that Town Hall and then move on to some of those other defenses. The Town Hall itself, especially against dragons, can be a little bit troublesome. Throwing out those kind of poison spells almost over and over again isn't really ideal, but we're going to continue with those invisibility spells. We still have 5 of them left, covering a good amount of the base so far with that Royal Champion. So far, so good. If your RC does lock onto a hero that you're not particularly bothered about, like we locked onto the enemy king right there, go ahead and make him invisible as well, and just so you can move on to some of these other defenses. Sitting on that scatter shot right now, again, trying to pick up as many really high value buildings as possible. We've already dealt with the Town Hall, which is one of the best, but of course scatter shots, inferno towers, air defenses, anything like that is always going to be nice. Now if your Royal Champion has got the value you're looking for, don't worry about trying to save onto any of those invisibility spells. You can just go ahead and use them later on in your attack. Now again, Archer Queen's ability, we're looking to take down 2 air defenses. In this particular one, we didn't manage to catch either. We actually missed both of the air defenses, which means we're now coming into the rest of this attack against 4 air defenses, which when you're using Hydra really is not ideal at all. We're looking to try and take down 2 of those air defenses, and it's all about trying to line your Queen up. Now in the heat of the battle, when you're really up against it and you're rushing to get that giant arrow, you're maybe not always going to get both of them, but at least try to get one. If your giant arrow goes the wrong way though, don't panic, just approach the base the exact same way you would. Try to keep that funnel going with your Queen and your Siege Barracks, and the rest of the attack should hopefully continue to flow. Now if we pause things up right here, you can see unfortunately in this particular one, our dragons have tended to split up a little bit, which means when we did pop that Grand Warden's ability, unfortunately we maybe didn't quite get as much value as we were looking for. However, it's not the end of the world. We are still getting through the base fairly comfortably. We've got those freeze spells to help protect through the back end of this one. Remember, we've got 1 rage and 1 freeze. You also, if you noticed over on that left hand side of the base, have these super minions coming out of that Siege Barracks. I'm a big fan of bringing these super minions out of the Siege Barracks. They've just, you know, they give that long, nice range, and they're able to snipe off some of those defenses from really far away. Apologies if you can hear my voice start to go. I've been a bit unwell and I'm just trying to get some videos out for you guys. You'll notice we've been lacking in uploads recently, and that's a little bit disappointing considering the fact we just hit 2,000 subscribers. So a huge thank you to all of you guys. If you did see, we're currently running a gold pass giveaway. Go ahead and check out the community tab and you'll see the details for that if you would like to enter. But we do have one more example of a Town Hall 16 against a Town Hall 17. So let's jump in and we'll take a look. So moving through onto this last attack, you guys will see again we're going to approach straight in towards that Town Hall, and this base is actually ideal for us because we're going to not only be able to hopefully get the Town Hall, but the Monolith is right next to it, so we should hopefully be able to snipe off both of those very, very important defenses, and it's going to give us a very nice start in this attack. Just be super careful, we don't want to lose our Royal Champion too early on, But luckily for us, of course, the ability does give us a little bit of HP back when it comes to that Royal Champion, so she's hopefully going to be able to snipe off a couple more of those defenses. The Town Hall's been secured though, as well as that Monolith. Just going to continue on with those invisibility spells, making sure that we do not let that Royal Champion slow up. So we're just going to go ahead and make the Ice Golem that she did lure out invisible as well. Continuing on here, trying to get as much value as we possibly can. Couple more invisibility spells left up in this particular one, and we're looking very, very good. We should hopefully be able to pull through, deal with that poison spell tower, which we may just be able to get with the ability right there. We do. Very, very nice indeed. And now we can get going with the rest of this attack. Archer Queen's ability, of course, going to get fired off again. And for the third time in a row, we don't quite get the value we're looking for. The RC did get lots of value, but the Queen unfortunately letting us down slightly. We needed her to be slightly further over so that ability could have caught 2 of those air defenses, but it's not the end of the world. We still managed to get 1, so we're still going to approach this the exact same way. We created that funnel beautifully with that Royal Champion, couple of dragons to clean up some of those outside buildings, and then the rest of the Hydra are going to be pushing straight into the base. Be careful for any of those air sweepers. Try to avoid going straight into them. That can really cause you a bit of a headache, so just keep an eye out for them. You want to typically use that Grand Warden ability when you're coming into the next heaviest section of the base, which for us of course is going to be this section where we were just in there with the double scatter shot. We had the multi-target infernos, there was even air defenses in there, so it was a very, very heavy section of the base. And again, we mentioned it in that first attack, be very, very careful with your Minion Prince's ability. Save it till slightly later on in the attack and use it when you're coming up against some of those defenses that could potentially cause you a bit of an issue. But in all of these attacks, you'll notice the Queen is actually staying alive pretty much all the way through to the end of the attack. She is able to just continuously snipe off those defenses, and it's because she's going around the outside of the base. She doesn't really have any potential deadly things that could take her down unless you're coming up against a really unorthodox base that potentially has, you know, a Monolith close to the edge, or it's single Inferno towers, or even enemy heroes. But 9 times out of 10 she should be pretty comfortable, especially when supported by the siege barracks. So hopefully you guys found this video helpful. I know you guys have been loving my hit up videos recently, you know, 9v10, 10v11, so on and so forth. I am planning to do one of these 3-star guides for every single town hall. I'm also planning on doing +2 town halls, so Town Hall 10 v Town Hall 12 for example, stuff like that. So let me know down in the comments if that's something that does interest you. But thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.